A week ago, India was hit by a cyclone. It was called Dana, pronounced Dana. Many, of course, pronounce it as Dana, but it is Dana. And then 2 days ago, Spain got hit with a Dana, which killed over 150 people. Now, naturally, the name can be confusing. Both of them are storms, both of them are called Dana. But a look at a world map might lead to questions about whether these two were the same storm as they occurred in different parts of the world. The answer, of course, is that they are not. India's Dana was a cyclone, and Spain's Dana, also pronounced Dana because it's Spanish, is the name for a very specific extreme weather phenomenon which caused truly insane floods this week. In the last week of October, Spain was hit by unanticipated and intense floods. The visuals have honestly just been crazy. You just have to look up the word Valencia, the name of the place that was affected, and you can see tens and tens of cars and vehicles just being washed downstream as if they're tiny toys in the very, very massive flash floods that occurred through the country. What caused this kind of destruction in Spain here was a Dana. Not the name Dana, but a type of weather phenomenon called Dana. Dana is a very deadly weather phenomenon that forms in the Mediterranean Sea, which surrounds Spain. It, in fact, is an acronym. It stands for Depresión Aislada en Niveles Altos. I hope I pronounced it correct. It is not the name of a storm like India's cyclone Dana was, but it is a phenomenon. It literally translates to isolated depressions at high altitudes. Now, Dana is an extreme version of what is more commonly known as a cold drop. Many places experience a weather phenomenon called the cold drop, where a chunk of warm air moves and collides while moving up with a non-moving chunk of very cold air that is present at very high altitudes. High meaning like 9 kilometers high, up in the upper atmosphere. There's a little bit of theory to this kind of dynamics. The atmospheric dynamics of the upper atmosphere is very different from what we can see just above the ground. Here, this high up above the surface, there are belts of very strong winds that surround the earth, and these winds can sometimes become wavy, like a snake undulating up and down in altitude because of temperature changes and pressure changes. This then could lead to a phenomenon where cold air remains trapped on one side, making it just stuck there and preventing this mass of cold air from moving, from either going down or rising up. Cold air, of course, doesn't rise up. A Dana event occurs when this mass of very, very cold air descends down and it goes closer to the surface where it meets very, very warm air that is rising near the surface. The sun, of course, heats up waters over the Mediterranean Sea, and we all know how ocean surface temperatures have been heating up. So that is what happened here. Warm air, we know, rises up, and this moist warm air that was rising rapidly above the Mediterranean starts to move over the landmass of Europe and Spain, the country. This air mass that is warm has high energy, it has high humidity, it has high mass, and it has high heat. It is stuck and it cannot rise above because of the colder winds that are higher above, which need to descend down. So this warm air gets trapped, it condenses, and it just results in an insane torrential downpour of water. That's exactly what happened. Spain received like a year's worth of rain in a day. The winds that result from this kind of a Dana event can be similar to cyclones. And indeed, videos from the Spanish event show that the wind has been quite similar to the Indian Ocean Dana's wind power, although much less violent and less in intensity. However, the rains are very different. In Spain, a Dana event can cause truly terrible rains even if the winds are relatively calmer and are not violent. This is because of the immense quantities of water held by this bulk of air surrounding a relatively small country on all sides. This results in mega quantities of water being released in a very short time, thus resulting in terrible flash floods. As Indians, most of us are actually quite familiar with the concept of flash floods. Even if we have not experienced landslides or flash floods ourselves, we are constantly subject to visuals of these phenomena happening in the rest of the year, in the rest of the country, because of our geography and the kind of weather events that occur here. In Spain, this time, the oncoming flash flood visuals were simply just terrifying. We can just see how, in a matter of minutes, even just seconds, the material that comes down with the water is so thick and sludgy and flowing extraordinarily fast. And suddenly, hundreds of cars are being washed away violently in the streets. This Dana event that occurred over Spain was one of the most powerful Dana events ever in the country. The phenomenon itself is not new. In fact, it is quite unique to Spain, although similar phenomena occur around South America. But this one was the most severe. According to the Spanish government, the previous record-breaking Dana event was in 1982 and it affected and displaced over 100,000 people. And this one is already considered worse. This one was one of the most dangerous weather phenomenon in Spain, and it was even worse than the previous record-breaking one. These Dana storms occur over Spain due to its structure and geography. And on October 29th, this Dana event stayed hovering over the same location for more than 12 hours, making it feel like a monster with a mind of its own. Now, of course, we're talking about this Dana event that happened all the way over in Spain because this is an extreme climate event. It's an extreme weather event, and it's kind of ill-advised to assume that what happens on the other side of the globe does not affect the rest of the world or the world's oceans. Historically, Dana storms over Spain were limited to September and October seasons only, but today, Europe as a landmass heats up so much that the Mediterranean begins to heat up much faster and much earlier and remains warmer for much longer. The season now for Dana storms has increased from early in May all the way to November. As a result, there are nearly 5 times more Dana events on average per year as compared to like 50 to 60 years ago in Spain. Now, the visuals from this event are striking. It shows rows and rows of cars and vehicles just being washed away, just being pummeled and piled up on the streets after flash floods, all of which occur in mere seconds. These visuals might be new to us now, the scale and intensity and the amount of damage that they inflict, but soon we know that this is going to become the norm. There's no turning away. As we keep running out of time to cover these events within the news cycle, they tend to become more and more intensified. However, let's hope that to some, the visuals also look slightly more dangerous and terrifying, as they should, when compared to, say, a bunch of teenagers sitting on the roads or throwing soup over airtight seats.